Around 20 years ago in 2003, an American research crew aboard the Glomar Challenger experienced their worst fears. She was researching the inner parts of the Mariana Trench with the help of a robotic unmanned submarine, and then they sensed something strange would happen. Heard a sea sound coming from beneath. When they dragged that vehicle onto the truth, it was discovered that its ship-connected thick metal cables were half cut and one side is not fully there. It was crumpled, but who could cause such extensive damage in such a short amount of time? According to several studies, only a 65 feet long Megalodon shark could cause such massive damage. The person in question is highly peculiar today, extinct 2 million years ago. Well, we're traveling in the depths of the Mariana Trench in 1960, like the first expeditionaries Don and Jack. Maybe the glass of the porthole was broken by the same creature. Well, what do you think? By diving deep, we explore today's wonderful video titled, What Scared the Expedition in the Mariana Trench? From the year 1872 to 1976, the HMS Challenger, a British research vehicle, was measuring the depths of different regions of the Pacific Ocean for research purposes, of course, and its method is quite unique. That just tie a weight to the rope and throw it into the ocean, and then measure the depth with that rope. But then something unexpected happens with the Challenger. Strange occurrence. Somewhere between Japan and Australia, right next to the Mariana Islands, they were doing their routine measurements. Now they saw that a kilometer-long rope was continuously sinking inwards, which was quite strange because it seemed like the oceans, it's as if vanished close to the shore of an island, unusually going deeper than 1 kilometer. So to delight the Admiral greatly, Challenger's crew added so much to that long rope. They set up a long rope as a barrier and started lowering it to measure the actual depth. Even after doing this, the ocean floor still isn't perceptible. And seeing this, the crew took it upon their ego and kept on adding rope to the rope, increasing its length. The rope kept getting longer until they ceased. How many ropes did it take them to reach Portum? The entirety of Garcia would be submerged. And in that spot beneath the ocean, the depth was 11 kilometers. And with the help of light letter sound waves, it was found to be approximately 10.994 kilometers. But it's so deep that if we were to invert Mount Everest, if you were to invert and insert the entire Mount Everest into the ocean trench, it would fit completely. Mind you, it will still fall short by 1 to 2 kilometers in length. So they dug to a depth of 11 kilometers and took 2,550 kilometers. And 70 kilometers wide, the sea's deepest region, almost crescent in shape, has been named the Mariana. With its ocean floor garden 1 to 5 kilometers wide, the Challenger Abyss is on the agenda. It has been showing up. The dive scheduled for January 23rd, 1960 was aimed at discovering the Mariana Trench. 80 years later, one day suddenly news comes that the adventure lover plus engineer plus Swiss oceanographer Jacques Cousteau's beloved, together with a US Navy Lieutenant Don Walsh, he is about to dive down to the Mariana Trench's Challenger Abyss under the code name Project. Now this was a very ambitious move. After all, how was he going to do it? Because you can guess about the dangers of this experiment from the fact that there the pressure was 72 times. Very migratory for migratory atmospheric pressure. Meaning, if you start moving towards a certain depth with a brick made of metals, by the time you reach the bottom, you will see that the brick compresses due to pressure. A text file has been created, so the real danger here is if your head, your eyes and other parts get squished. So Jacques' father, Auguste Piccard, had built a deep sea vessel, that is a bath escape, in the 1950s, which was about 10 centimeters thick. It was protected by a metal wall and Jack used to take it down into the sea. But was this really a good idea? Because Tri-State had its first dip in 1953 in the Mediterranean Sea and reached a depth of 3,150 kilometers. Meters and simply, even though from 1953 to 1957, this bath escape had proven itself for such deep sea operations, but how sensible was it to bring it down to almost 3 times its previous lowest level? Jake and Don were completely indifferent to the question. They immediately got into tryst and started their journey at 8:23 in the morning. The journey began with Tris descending rapidly for about 8 kilometers at a speed of roughly 0.9 meters per second. But then they had to slow down their speed to avoid hitting a rock. Then they collided. After that, they continued to descend. This vessel touched the ocean floor at 1:06 p.m. and spent 20 minutes there in the dark after diving. They returned to the surface in less than 3 hours, but coming up so quickly after reaching the bottom was rapid. What was the reason behind this chasm? Did they see or feel something? Well, within minutes of being in Challenger Abyss, meaning the deepest abyss in the because of the lights on the Trieste, they saw two 30 centimeters long flatfish. They saw creatures, and along with them, they also saw some shrimps on the seafloor, having a great time feasting on shrimp, but while they were descending down and enjoying the view. Something happened that makes them, they reached their grave. Satya was just about to touch the Prestige bottom 32,000 feet below when suddenly both expeditioners heard a light crackling sound followed by a heavy shock wave. The entire cabin feels it. At first they thought maybe the vessel had touched the bottom and that was its jolt, but later they found out it had actually chewed the bottom. The real action is yet to come. What remained was to cover some distance in between, which Traste was doing quite well. And so they decided to do it. The cracking sound can be repeated. Everything that can make such a sound for listening, all of those things. They turned it off for a while, but doing so made them feel like there were some sort of ant-like creatures or possibly shrimps on their vessel. So it sounds like crawling, doesn't it? Walking in such a way, eh? Or something else was happening. Well, to solve the dominance mystery immediately, Jacques turned on the searchlights outside the vessel. And so that the conditions outside the vessel can be assessed. After which they found out what actually they both had come to the cabin. The door was adorned with a plexiglass weaving pot, or in simpler words, they would again say or they were reading cracks on the window pane which could break at any moment. And therefore they quickly made the decision to surface. But friends, the question here is, are Don Walsh and Jacques Picard not here? This simple answer baffled them. Now, no one can say what was going on in their minds. We could only guess from their actions. So, those were their own words. Because Picard died in 2008, Don Walsh became the advisor for the Titanic movie director, who were going to conduct a similar expeditionary mission in 2012 using a new and advanced deep-sea Challenger bath bomb. Now, because this time, after 5 decades, new technology is diving into the Mariana Trench. Even Don Walsh was excited about this expedition. They were very hopeful that finally they would get answers to these questions. When will it be found out what lies beneath the ocean? What happened in 1960 with them was just the influence of ocean pressure, or maybe some large marine entity living in such depth. Every researcher was at the edge of their seats. And then something like this happened, it happened in the 1600s. Deep Sea Challenger reached the Challenger Abyss with its robotic arms holding crucial evidence. They might have been able to sour it, but suddenly went bad. Or it could also be that the creature below was not only powerful, but also intelligent, or else this might have been done by the pressure. So even in this mission, we didn't learn much. But this wasn't happening for the second time only. Like Tristek in 2001, a deep sea was deployed by the Germans, called an unmanned submersible vessel named Highfish. It was sent to the Mariana Trench, but when it was going down, it was about 60 kilometers deep. Suddenly, it stopped. No matter how much he tried, he couldn't move it, so they turned on the infrared lights on the vessel so that we can at least get to the root of the mysterious case of the Mariana Trench. And if you believe the deep holes, as soon as the infrared lights were switched on, the crew saw what they thought was a highfish was actually a lizard-like creature's jaws. I was trapped, trying to spend the night awake. An electric discharge was released into the water. With a strong shock, the lizard-like creature finally let go of the highfish and disappeared into the dark sea. Vanished without a trace. Good that they do what it breaks for. In 2003, a similar instance occurred with an American manned vessel named Glamour Challenger. As it was descending into the deep water, the crew, with the help of recording devices installed on the vessel, were witnessing some strange sights. They heard poor noises as if some ship was attaching a metal to the vessel. Attempting to cut through, the crew seated in the ship shifted their gaze towards their monitors as if to solve this mystery with depths and shadows of 12 to 16 meters. Looking somewhat like a two-headed dragons. The crew members were terrified at the sight of monsters and immediately started moving their 9-meter-long robotic vehicle to the ship above out of fear of losing it. The entire crew's eyes seemed ready to embark on a journey of righteousness. It remained as it was because one side of the vessel was severely squished and it was connected to the ship by a powerful I was tearing up. It seems it was just attached roughly. But guys, what kind of pressure are these testimonials really under? Is it even possible for such creatures to exist today? Challenger Abyss, which is deep. This place is massive. Anything seems possible over here. Many Japanese fishermen fishing here encountered a shark tooth that's 11,000 years old. The marine life around Mariana Island is not as diverse as present shark species. The gigantic Megalodon sharks up to 10 to 20 meters long went extinct about 2 million years ago. And when James Cameron did his deep sea mission, he also recorded a giant amoeba, 10 centimeters larger. The creatures known as 5'4", also called Beard War of the Ages, special, whale of a special, because these creatures are single-celled and have no spine. Look at the nose. Why? A sulfur lake exists at a constant temperature of 187 degrees for 2,400 hours. This is the only volcano of its kind on Earth. The second one like it is Jupiter. Altogether, the Mariana Trench is one of the greatest wonders of our world. Because here every living and non-living thing exists that functions in one way on the surface and changes its nature in the depths. But friends, do you marvel at the Mariana Trench and the depths it holds? Does the existence of one creature seem right to you, or do you think they could be normal fishes as well? That's correct too. Or it could be other creatures and they're simple bites. And they are being exaggeratedly described. And what do you think? Let us know in the comment section, friends. And if you learned anything new from this video, slam that like button. Just subscribe to the Ply Science channel as well and hit the notification bell so that you get updates on our future videos. Do what you can. As always, stay curious, keep learning and keep growing.